Welcome to another episode of Social Happy Hour with yours truly, Peter Madrigal. Now, to get on with us, you can go to petermadrigal.live and you can view the show from there. You can view the show from YouTube, and we also are broadcasting on Facebook. So if you're on YouTube, you can just, if you don't mind, leave a like, share, and subscribe. That would be amazing. Thank you so much for doing that. It takes one click. That's all. Anyway. Here we are today, day number 5,000. I was actually just looking through my book, my date book right here, and where I keep all of everything that I have to do for the day. And I was reviewing how many weeks we've actually been in quarantine. And I counted the number 13. It's very, it's been 13 weeks since we started this self-imposed quarantine. We are now in the middle of summer, 5,000 days in, as I like to say, because it feels like it's never ending. And one thing that was brought to my attention today was us collectively are wondering how long this thing is going to last for. Now, I was on the phone earlier, just actually about 15 minutes ago with a guest who's going to be on today, Courtney Jones. We were talking about, the future and seeing what everything's going to look like in the middle of winter. And to tell you the truth, we don't really know. Are we still going to be staying in place? Shelter in place orders, or is it going to be like, back to normal? How are we going to be back to normal? Are teachers going to be able to teach? Our kids going to be able to go back to school? And that's our theme for today. We are talking about teachers. We are talking to teachers. I want to know everything that's going on with classrooms around the United States right now. That's what I want to know. And so, we have a lot of teachers lined up today. Of course, I'm going to be pushing Clear the List, the clearthelistfoundation.org. That is a board on which I sit as a member. The founding member, of course, is Courtney. She will be on with us in a few minutes. But I'm curious as to see. I'm curious to know how teachers are coping right now with this whole stay in place. Are there any teachers that are able to go back to their classrooms right now? Are there any teachers able to actually interact with students yet? Are cases coming back? Is that like a boogeyman now? Instead of like back in the 50s where we had this threat of atomic war and everybody was hiding underneath the desks and that was like a drill. What's the drill now? Are we all going to wear masks forever? Are we going to be wearing masks when we go back to school? I'm not back to school, but are the students going to be wearing masks? So the teacher's going to be wearing masks. My brother happens to be a teacher, and I should have him on one of these days. But I don't know if he doesn't even know. I think that things might be going back to normal where he's at in Texas. But that being said, I don't know if he has to wear a mask or not. I'm going to have to ask him that question. It's going to be very interesting. I'm hopeful for the future, and I'm hopeful to get out of this situation. I'm hopeful for the future, and I'm hoping that everything kind of like a big tidal wave, it came and then kind of like slows down and slowly trickles back to sea. That being said, Johnny, how are we doing today? Oh God, he's finishing up a call.
What do you mean I need to be homeschooled? But listen, I graduated over 26 years ago. If it makes you feel better, you can drive by, I'll wave, you honk, all that. That's fine. Okay, Ma, I'll talk to you later. Goodbye. Yep. Hey, buddy.
What's up?
Sorry, I was just finishing up. I just had never mind. What's going on? How are you?
Does your mom not know that you graduated already?
You know what? She forgot graduation. She could drive by. It's fine. We'll do a little waving. Just as long as we bring balloons. Anyway, who knows, man?
Your mom doesn't know. Do you have an empty bottle of Cheers with me, or did you finally put some money in the boot? Oh, there we go. There it is.
Not myself, little tequila for this one. Cheers, brother.
I love that. That's awesome.
Social happy hour. I had to replenish. Still no wine.
I know, because you were downing that bottle of rosé yesterday.
Well, I drank it early because it's rosé all day, and I just didn't have enough for the rest of the day. So what are you going to do?
Well, it became the theme for the day, drinking out of the bottle. That's what it did.
That's it.
So Johnny, tell me, what's the degree, like what college did you graduate from, or what's the highest rank in academia that you attained?
Wait, I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
What is the highest rank in academia that you attained, Johnny?
Yeah, we could just move on. That's fine. No problem.
What's the
okay? No.
Okay, never mind. All right, yeah, moving on.
No, I mean, for me, it's tough because school was. I hate to say it wasn't really my thing. I always self-taught myself. What I wanted to do was get in this industry way back in the day, and all I was focused on was acting at one point in time, and then that was another life. So I got into producing, but I just, I graduated high school. I did a little bit of college and said,
when did you graduate? When did you graduate high school?
Wait, what?
Okay, because I want to know. I'm just curious from you, Johnny. I want to know because remember I was saying back in the 50s that like they were training everybody to get under the desks because there might be an atomic attack. You know what I mean, from the Russians. So was there anything like that? Because I can't remember any drills like that we went through when I was in high school. And now because of the whole COVID thing, like I think everyone's gonna have to be wearing a mask or something. This one.
Yeah, it's so weird because I thought people who wore masks were like, the bad guys that came in to rob you or something like that. But
now it's the good guys.
Now we're all doing the mask thing. But the only thing that I remember from high school, I guess, because it was such a long time ago. Actually, I am older than you, but I did graduate about 26 years ago.
I thought I was older than you.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I think I got you on.
I'm an ageist now. I'm like thinking I'm really old.
Nah. Don't let her fool you, baby. Don't let her fool you. I'm up there. So the only thing I remember was like fire drills, but it was just drills. That's it. And it was crazy because when I remember the fire drills, and then actually, just not to get off topic, but after, my house got caught on fire, and I knew nothing about any drills or to what to do. You just, got up and got out. That's a whole other story. That's a whole other topic.
Wow.
But yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was in high school. I was in a classroom when 9/11 happened. So that's what everyone was doing. Like all classes that day stopped. I think it was a Monday, if I'm not mistaken. But all classes that day stopped. And even the football team, because I was on the football team, and the football team was like, do we practice? Are we going to get bombed? I'm like, I literally told those guys, I was like, dude, no one's going to bomb us. It's in this little town out there in Texas. No one's like strategically targeting us. Okay? Calm down. Stop being so full of yourselves.
Right. We all remember where we're at 911 when 911 happened. It was just so crazy. I was actually working. Well, I wasn't working that day, but I was working the Jerry Springer show. I don't know if you heard that show. So yeah. So that was. We got up that morning, and I remember the whole city of Chicago was shutting down, and I was ready to go into work, and I was like, holy Jesus! But
so he told you to turn around and go home.
Yeah.
Oh wow, damn. That's intense.
But let's get off topic here because we got a lot of people.
Hell yeah, let's go. Who's up first?
I'm excited because this is like a part 2 or continuation of. We got a great response talking about teachers in quarantine. My wife's a teacher, and I've seen what she's. You never know what teachers do, and I guess until this whole lockdown, where you're seeing how much they do, and I've seen it firsthand, being with in lockdown with her for the last 3 months or 2-3 months, yep. and it's been crazy. But in any case, this is a great topic. We got a lot of traction last time, a lot of need. People wanted to hear more, and yeah, I'm glad we're doing this. So let's bring Courtney in.
Me too. Okay, so who we got first? Courtney Jones.
Hi.
Hi, Courtney. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good. How are you doing since the last time we talked, which was like 30 minutes ago?
Yes, so much has changed. I've taken a nap. I got my hair done. So much in 15 minutes, right?
Yeah, you know what? I didn't do anything. I kind of just changed my shirt, and that was it. Because I was wearing an Angel shirt today, and yeah, it was not theme appropriate, I suppose. So I kind of wanted to look more teacher-esque. Anyway, That being said, cheers to you. What are you drinking today?
Yeah, so this is sweet tea. I have to like bring it from Texas because no one here in Colorado knows how to make sweet tea in my fancy clear the list cup that my
Wow.
realtor gave me when we sold our house. So yeah, I'm drinking sweet tea, which is it's not alcoholic, but it's dang good. So
My grandma used to make sweet tea. It was amazing. So real quick question for you, since we're on the topic of teachers. There's a few things that I want to discuss with you because I'm just like, that's the way my brain works. But okay. So how is everything going as far as teachers are concerned? Like, are we opening schools back up? I know that you said Texas was kind of open again. So are we opening schools? Is there social distancing within schools? Do we wear masks now within schools? I mean, what's going on?
so
Like, it's like I told Johnny and I talked about in my opening monologue, back in the 50s when we were under threat from Soviet Russia, everyone was all like, oh, hide under the desk in case there's a nuclear attack. I mean, that doesn't work, but still, like.
right. Yeah, no. So it's anything and everything on the spectrum is being talked about right now. So Texas, they actually opened up for in-school summer school, and it was kind of up to the district whether they wanted to take part in that. So I know there's some in-person teaching right now, I'm sure in small groups, but they're Texas is just like, who cares? We're above this thing. Like they think that they're just like the stereotype fits. And so I'm allowed to say that I'm from there. And
So
so
am I. So
yeah.
my brother's a teacher in Texas. So, I got to ask him some questions too. Eventually, I should have brought him on today, but I didn't. It's been a crazy, crazy day. So tell me, I was just watching. Well, I do another podcast, and I was recording that before I got here, and it's called Madrigal at the Movies with Rob and Rob. It will be out very soon. And we were on our third movie, and it was The Matrix, right? And we were talking about AI. Now, have you encountered any AI in your classrooms? And what do you think about the whole AI push? Because from what I was talking to one of my friend Robs, there's two Robs. One of them, he was talking about how this physicist was talking about how the human brain, it would take like an entire 8 city blocks and a huge amount of power and to just get it going, and it would overheat very quickly. That's why AI is impossible at this point in time. So what are your thoughts on that?
That's super interesting. I guess to answer your other question too, before I answer this, there's Texas who's like absolutely crazy right now, but then I just heard from a friend in California. She's in like the San Francisco area, and they just put out a model for their school where they would actually go to school and teach in person from like, let's say 8 to 12 per se, and then they all go home, and then they teach digitally from like 12 to 3 every single day with like PD days. So I mean, yeah, mask, all of that. That's all there.
Wow.
AI, like I think that it depends like what
do you think it would benefit, Mike, real quick, do you think it would benefit like a classroom like what we're going through right now?
So I think the answer is yes and no. Yes, in the sense that if we can create certain technologies that helps us to like specifically target students and maybe like learning disabilities, and maybe maybe the technology can understand a student's learning disabilities or learning issues quicker than a human could, then I think that the more that we could push for that, the better. Obviously, there's on the flip side, there's the scare that, can a computer teach a student, and take the place of a teacher? I don't think so. I think there's a lot more to education than just the knowledge itself. But I think that if we use it strategically, yes, that we definitely could. I mean, all of us, for the most part, have iPads in our classroom, and that's a freaking human. Like, I mean, you can do anything on it, Google, everything.
Yeah, but for like actual AI, that's like the Matrix. What we were talking about in the Matrix, where everything is kind of like these things think like a normal human being. That's decades off, but. My question is that like apart from the quarantine, because it probably could help during the quarantine, like you have your AI is like, okay, you've only tracked this many hours, this many days, and you haven't finished your assignments, and I'm gonna grade your assignments for you. Do we have that technology right now?
Yeah, so we have there's a
because back in my day there were no iPads. It was pencil and paper. We were still in the 50s.
Yeah. So and this has kind of been highlighted with COVID. So like I talked a little bit about my school last time. We were strictly paper pencil for all of this quarantine time. We did everything over the phone. But there is software out there. Google has Google Classroom where as a teacher, you can upload your assignments and it grades it for you and inputs it into your gradebook automatically. There's a lot of streamlined, really awesome like reading applications or math games that you can play that grades it all and actually will adjust the difficulty based on a student's performance. The issue with that is without seeing them and being, holding their hand through that a little bit, how do we know that they're not just like clicking buttons? How do we know that the data is accurate when they're at home and we're here? But in a typical situation, yeah, there's a lot in education that's really moving towards better specifying issues in like our classroom and just aiding the teacher. I think there's probably a lot of skepticism about bringing in like a full virtual setting, but I know that there are virtual schools out there too. So, I mean, I think it could go both ways.
Ashley Marie says, I think the personal connection is so important. I agree with you, Ashley. If I didn't have the personal connection with some of my teachers, I probably would have failed. I'm kidding. No, I wouldn't have failed. No, I know myself too well. I don't fail. I pass everything. You know what I mean? Just look at me in life. I'm not going to fail. But that being said, yes, I totally get that. Some people do need that extra help and that extra guiding hand, as you said, someone holding their hand. So, I mean, if we move into that whole AI type of world and everything is done with that could be a very, very cold world that we're walking into. And that doesn't sound fun, It's not warm and loving. It's more like, oh, yeah, you got it wrong or right. You know what I mean? It's very black and white in that case.
Right, exactly. And I think that, learning is social. And so taking that social element out of like a learning environment I think it will definitely turn off a lot of students. I mean, the technology is great because the students are growing up in that way. They're used to video games and iPads. They can run it better than I can, and I'm pretty savvy. So in that way, we're able to connect with the students on a different level. I could bring in like a Fortnite example or a Call of Duty example.
Mm-hmm.
The kids would know what I was talking about way faster than if I brought in like there were 17 farms with 89 cows apiece. Multiply it together to see how many cows total. It didn't compute. And so I completely agree. In a hyper futuristic classroom, it does seem very cold. It takes that warmth out and it just doesn't have the connection piece to it, which is what makes learning so interesting. Whenever I go to conferences and stuff and I sit in a classroom, I want to be in a classroom that the teacher is engaging with us and making us think, questioning us and responding in real time too. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, it depends. Brittany says, my school uses reading and math computer-based supplemental curriculum that is interactive, monitors progress, and gives data feedback. But like Courtney said, without an adult to engage them, who knows? Exactly. You know what I mean? That could be a very cold world and not very social. Speaking of social, you're watching Peter Madrigal Social Happy Hour, and I want to bring on some more teachers. Is that cool? We got special guest Courtney Jones, founder of clearthelistfoundation.org, the Clear the List Foundation, of which she may be a board member. So I feel like I feel very special over here. Johnny, do we have a teacher on deck over here for us? Who do we got first?
Hi.
What's your name?
I'm Taylor.
Hi, Taylor. Where are you calling from, Taylor?
I'm in Texas.
In Texas. Okay. All right. What part of Texas?
The Fort Worth area.
Fort Worth. Okay, cool. So Dallas, Fort Worth. All right.
Yeah.
So question of the day. First of all, I want to know a few things about how we're looking to open up schools now. Like, for instance, I'm going to repeat it again. Like I told Johnny, I told everybody, I told Courtney, back in the 50s when we were under the potential attack of the Soviets from Russia, everyone would have drills to jump underneath the desk to avoid the atomic explosion. All right. And now, we've kind of gotten away from that. But now it seems with this, we have something else to be scared of. What do you say to that? Like, do you think we're going to be wearing masks all the time, or what do you think? Especially where you're at.
Well, I would hope, my hope is to not have to, but realistically, honestly, I don't know. I think it might vary from district to district. Even now, like brought up that some districts are doing in-person summer school. My district is not. I actually just got off a Zoom call with some of my students because I'm teaching summer school online still.
Yeah.
Some districts around me have released like new school calendars where they have like 2 weeks off in October, 3 weeks off in December, 2 weeks off in March, just to supplement in case they do have to close, like we have the past couple months. So I really think that it just varies from district to district, and
Gotcha.
We're just waiting to see how things look probably in another month, and then we'll hear more as to what schools look like. I know some teachers have been able to go in to districts to sign contracts.
Yeah.
I had to print out my contract and sign it and email it to the district. So it really just depends on district, on what they're doing.
I gotcha. Okay. So real quick, as I was talking to Courtney about this, I was wondering about AI. Now, have you used AI to help you with your classroom, or what do you think about the advancements that we've had in AI, and how has it helped you with your own situation right now? Have you used it at all?
You said AI?
Yeah, artificial intelligence.
Oh, okay. Well, I teach in a district that a lot of students are economically disadvantaged, and so it's been really tough. I feel like using technology in replacement in place of a teacher, being there with them is really hard, especially for those students who, can't afford to have internet or can't afford to buy an iPad. We pass out our school iPads to students, but they're so old and outdated that they didn't support the programs that we were trying to use. So it just doesn't, right now at least, it just doesn't match being there in the classroom with them. Some parents were doing the work for the students. Some students just didn't have the motivation to sit on a computer.
So you don't think it would be a very cold world if AI were to kind of start taking over the role of a teacher?
Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of students would just withdraw, and even now some of them wouldn't sit for just a couple hours a day to do their schoolwork. And that was we were just doing that was the minimum.
Amy H says, have you heard anything about them letting go of all the PE and art and music teachers in your area? Has anything happened in your area, Taylor, about PE teachers?
Not in my district. They're keeping all of the PE, art, and music teachers at my school. So I haven't heard. I've seen on Twitter, and Courtney will retweet a lot of things pertaining to that. But I haven't heard anything around me particularly.
Courtney, do you have any questions for Taylor?
Yeah.
I'm sorry for hogging up the space. I just it's my personality.
No, you're good. So Taylor's a board member on Taylor's Foundation too. Y'all met the other day. But so I'm thinking more as y'all are talking about this AI thing, and I'm wondering if we can, in the ways that we differentiate right now in our classrooms to meet different learning standards for different students. So, some students may need additional technologies than others just to have a level playing field. I'm wondering if we couldn't use the AI to our advantage and allow for the students, maybe it's students with autism or different social disabilities or just issues. Maybe they would thrive better in a situation where they are not having to have that social interaction with the teacher. So maybe it is that we differentiate and we use that technology to our advantage to reach students on different levels. As for question, no, and to answer, I think her name was Amy about the art and music. There are districts across the U.S. who are cutting these teachers. They're furloughing them. and maybe it's that they're just freezing their funding for these programs, and so these teachers are really struggling. They're really nervous that they won't have a job next year, and what that looks like. I think it was someone in Florida, I believe today, was telling me how the PE, art, and music would actually come to the classroom instead of going to the gym or art room, because they don't want that passing in the hallway, and so the teacher would actually come to them. And what can you do in a classroom, doing that? It's pretty difficult. So, and even like lunch, recess done in the classroom, probably next year, because you can't help the social distancing when you're out on a recess field.
So you think that the PE teachers are not going to be able to come back? Like art and PE is not needed because I survived school based off of PE. Well, football, but still.
Yeah, no. Don't get me wrong. I totally 100% think that they're absolutely needed, but I think that districts are cutting them because they're seen as extracurricular rather than the test areas. So I think that they're
not
usually
essential.
Exactly. I see them as non-essential, and so that's the first person to get cut, first people to have budget cuts, and so it's a real shame. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know how to fix it. So I don't know.
Brittany says special education law is being broken and lawsuits are going to pile up. I think many states are going to prioritize on-campus learning for students with IEP.
Yep. Yeah, totally. So what an IEP is for a student in special education. It's a specific document that gives us, like a general education teacher or a special education teacher, the tools and the understanding of that student's background, what their learning disability or what their disability is, and how and which accommodations and modifications we can make to standard curriculum to help them learn in the ways that are best fit. And so she's exactly right. It's impossible to meet their needs from a distance learning perspective, especially those who get like all of their like occupational therapy and maybe physical therapy from the school. So I think she's right. They will prioritize.
Awesome. Well, I'm hoping that they prioritize that. I mean, come on, like that's I don't know. There's a lot going on in the world, and I'm hoping for the best. But Taylor, it was a pleasure talking to you. I hope that you continue on, and I can't wait to see you again at the next board meeting.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome, of course. Bye, Taylor.
Bye.
Ooh. Man, I'm running low. I need a refill. Ashley says my friend has to basically force her kids to go on Zoom and pay attention in class. I mean, that's another thing that I'm going to address about like just having just an AI classroom would be, look, kids, and I would know from experience because I was one at one point. They're a lot of the time they are ADD, attention deficit disorder, whatever you want to call it. They are that way, and paying attention to someone on Zoom is not the same as being in an actual classroom with somebody, and that won't change AI or not. I mean, that's not going to change at all. Everyone's going to stay, like kids are going to be kids, and that's it. They're going to want to run around. If we had a robot come in and start teaching, can you imagine the Terminator robot coming in? Okay, class A, B, no. It's not going to work. Our district said no one is losing their jobs. However, Vanessa said this. Our district said no one is losing their jobs. However, if someone retires, they will not be replaced, and we won't have a librarian or an art teacher at our campus. Tell me something, Courtney. Are we still doing librarians? Are we still doing libraries?
Oh yeah, totally. There's libraries.
It all can be digital on the phone or tablet.
Yeah. So for them, I mean, yes and no. So it kind of brings in that social thing, right? I can go on Audible and download an audiobook and listen to it or read it on my Kindle. But there's something about going to Barnes and Noble and smelling the books and just being inspired by all the different titles. So
I do agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, there are alternatives which are fantastic. I think some of the main ones, Epic was one for reading. There's tons of books on there. There's a company called Books who actually, it's like Netflix for like young books, and so they do like it's like little mini short stories, and so it's kind of cool. So there are things there, and it's fantastic for those that can use it and thrive on it, but it's nothing like going into a library and
It's
picking
not.
up
No, I agree with that. But if the librarian is going to be the first. So, what are they going to do? Have kids work in the libraries is for extra credit? That's probably a good idea, actually.
Yeah, I think in older grades for sure. I think it's going to come down to, I think everything's going to be so like granular to the general classroom and not leaving. So as much as
They
possible.
will have to have a supervisor, though.
Yeah, but I think that I think it's going to come down to the general classroom teachers or just the teachers to build a classroom library inside their classroom for for the kids to go and just pick something off their shelves so they don't have to leave, which is pretty sad.
No. Gotcha. So we're going to bring on Tammy next. Tammy, come on in. Tammy, how are you doing, Tammy?
Good. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. So you're on Social Happy Hour with Peter Madrigal. So tell me, cheers. I gotta refill myself. I'm eating berries now. So last night I was on this other program, Spirited Convos, with Julie, a friend of mine, and I kind of recreated the concoction I created last night on her show. So now it's out because it tastes so good. It's made with tawny port. Anyway, that being said, hi Tammy, how are you doing today?
Good.
Good, awesome. So real quick question for you. How is everything going as far as teaching goes? Like, where are you calling from right now?
So I'm in Virginia.
Virginia. Has school district started reopening the facilities? No, not yet.
No. We did get, however, lots of guidance on what that's going to look like, and
Okay.
it's interesting. Everything from only special education students, pre-K through 3 right now, through phase 2, can be inside the buildings. 10 students on a bus. And I just did some quick math earlier. Our district, Dinwiddie County, is 507 square miles. And we have 4,300 odd students. So I'm not sure how we're going to do 10 students on a bus.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know how you're going to do that either. That's very. Do you think? So, like, I'm going to reiterate the same thing. Like back in the 50s, people like students hid under the desks because we were being attacked by the Soviets. And
right.
and that whole phase happened, and then nothing really happened until now. Now we have to. Do you think we're going to have to start wearing masks because the new scare is this disease?
It's already mandated in what Virginia has put out that we would be required to wear a mask anytime that we couldn't be with 6 feet or farther away from students, or if we were talking really loud, which Courtney knows is basically what we do all day, every day.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
that's all you do all day, every day is talk loud.
Yeah.
You have to reach somebody with that voice. So you're not allowed. What grade do you teach?
I actually am at the middle school. I currently do 6th grade.
Okay. And when do you think that facilities are going to be open for you? Because if it's just like phase 2 is like what, 3 to 5, you said?
Phase 2 goes to 3rd grade, and then looking at what they sent out, phase 3 allows for in-person, but you still have all the social distancing guidelines, and they're actually throwing out the idea of staggered schedules, A day, B days, all kinds of different things so that you don't have the full house.
Gotcha. Okay. So you're going to have I don't know how that's going to work with a school of 4,300 students, because like, where's the other one's going to go? If you can only have 10 people in a class, 10 students in the classroom, what about the other 10 that were supposed to take the class? Are they going to have to go to a different, I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see accomplished.
Yeah, the other problem that we had through all this, I have to say, though, my district did a really great job of pulling together a distance learning module for the last few weeks. But the thing that we faced is we're a rural district, high poverty district, and say 10% of our students had internet access. So that necessitated paper packets, and we also have a large ELL population, and so it's been a nightmare.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Have you been able to teach via Zoom through
Oh,
this
yeah.
quarantine? You have?
We actually use Google Meet, but I've
Okay.
been doing it that way. But the number of students that could actually attend has been really limited. The rest of them have been doing the paper packets, and it's just not the same. That social emotional piece.
Yeah, and that's something that we were talking about earlier today. Because, like I said, I just did a review on the movie The Matrix from 1999, and one of the main aspect of that movie is AI interference in human interaction. And my question to you is, do you foresee AI kind of taking over teachers? I know a lot of, like, everyone that we had on before, including Courtney, was saying that no, that you can't have that because there's a human component with teaching. If you need to take someone's hand, and kids would kind of withdraw from learning anything. What do you think?
I mean, I think you could do it practically, but do I think it would be good for education as a whole? Absolutely not. There are some of our students that we are the only smile or the only hug they get all day long. They need that.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. I'm thinking now, as we move into all of these restrictions and guidelines next year, I think we're going to see probably a lot of teachers retiring early, a bunch not returning to the field because on top of an already demanding job, it's going to be more demanding and it's going to be super stressful. So I'm wondering, Peter, if that AI component actually wouldn't be beneficial. I know last year there was over 300,000 teacher positions that went unfilled because of the teacher shortage. In Texas alone, I think this was 2 years ago, we had 24,000 open positions and only 6,000 new teacher graduates in the state. And so I'm wondering if, we can't figure out ways where it actually works to our advantage to help fill these positions to where at least there's a competent educator in some sense, whether it's AI or whether it's a human. It's not fix all, but maybe, just maybe, it's better than nothing at all. Or you know what I mean? So there may be a beneficial component on that aspect because of all of those missing pieces. But I think ultimately that human component is necessary. Another issue is the districts that are going to fully stay virtual and their parents are going back to work. Where does that leave the kids? Who's watching them? Who's holding their hand? Who's helping teach them? There's just a lot of issues, and it's hard enough in a general classroom, but then you start getting into special education and, the arts, the PEs, the, all of these little components that it's almost impossible to adjust for.
Yeah. I agree with you. I agree totally. Tammy, did you have any questions for us?
I don't think so.
Why not? You don't want to ask me anything.
No, I'm good. No. I'm good.
Beautiful thing to say, Tammy. The only smile, the only hug they get all day. That's very true. Adrienne Barber said that. Yeah, I happen to think that as well. I mean, like, I'm not in the education forum, but because of through Courtney, I've been able to start getting a glimpse into what you guys go through. And I'm gonna try and help out as much as I can at this point.
We appreciate you. Educators appreciate everything that you guys have done.
It was awesome meeting you, Tammy. It was awesome talking to you. I hope to see you soon.
Thanks.
Bye. Woo, okay, all right. The next guest that we have on today is Samantha. Come on in, Samantha.
Hello. Cheers.
Samantha Overman. Sorry for the wait, Samantha. Welcome to Social Happy Hour with Peter. I finished my drink, so cheers to whatever I got in here. Hold on, I'll have to get something. Actually.
Get a refill.
Now that I think about it, I'm gonna pull some tequila down here. There we go. Just a little drop. Why not?
Yeah.
Getting a little
Haven't
Samantha, what are you drinking today? Are you drinking water?
Just water today.
Just water? Okay, well, I'll cheers you anyway, baby.
Cheers.
So where are you calling from, Samantha?
I am calling from Toledo, Ohio.
Toledo, Ohio. How is everything over there in Toledo right now? Is it warm? Is it warming up?
Warming up, yeah, mid-70s today, so nice sunny day out.
No, I love that. That's awesome. It's like over here, we're at 104.
I'll stay where I'm at.
There you go. So, question for you: how's everything been going for you as far as teaching goes over there in Toledo? Like, have you been utilizing Zoom? Are you guys going to be able to go back? Are facilities finally opening up again over there in Ohio? What's going on?
Well, I'm lucky enough to teach in a district that's a one-on-one with devices. And I teach in a K-4 building, and all of our students have their own Chromebooks, and they stay at school. However, when we got the notice on Thursday that schools were shutting down originally for only 3 weeks, our tech department and volunteers worked like crazy to get the devices ready to send home with the students. And so every student in our district was able to take a Chromebook, or in the upper grades, they were MacBooks home. Mm-hmm. And students learn through digital platforms like Schoology or Google Classroom, which they're already familiar with using in the building. So we're pretty blessed to already have that, where the kids knew what to do. But
yeah, exactly. Okay. One of the questions that I did bring up with Courtney was the AI thing, because I said, I reviewed the movie The Matrix, and how do you feel about AI potentially, helping out or taking over some of the teaching that some of the classrooms? What do you think? Do you think that would be beneficial, or do you think that would be a detriment to a young mind?
Personally, I think it's a detriment to the younger students, especially, like Tammy said. Sometimes we're the only hug or smile that they get all day. Sometimes school might be the only place where some children get to eat all day. They come and they eat breakfast, if we're provided breakfast and lunch, and they might not eat again until the next morning. So for many students, school is their safe place. And I just think it is so important to students emotionally to be in a classroom, be around their peers, have positive role models that they can see every day. I was a mom during quarantine, so I was homeschooling as well, my kindergartner and fifth grader, and they cried all the time. They missed their teachers and their friends so much. So it was hard to see them go through that and know if my children are going through that, what are some other kids going through?
Yeah.
And daycares and childcares were shut down, and right now in Ohio, they're only running at about a 1/3 capacity. So you have to think, if both parents are back at work, who's watching all of these kids, and what are they currently going through that we might not know about? Gotcha.
I was going to ask, so there's a theme going on right now. Aren't we supposed to be in summer vacation? Or is there still are summer classes a big thing now? Because back in my day, they weren't that big. I took summer classes, but there were what, two classrooms, and then that was it. There was nothing going on. And have times changed, or is it still summer vacation?
There's summer options that schools do offer or provide for students that need it. I think right now most of it is probably digital. I don't think that a lot of them are back in the buildings just yet.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
When do you have do you have a date when you might be going back to facilities?
Ohio, we've been told that we can start back up in August whenever our start dates are, but it's up to each school district what that will look like. So we're not sure yet. Since it's district by district, will it be a hybrid model? Every other day? Will it be half days? Are the students going to be able to come back every day in a classroom but be spaced apart? We don't know what that will look like yet. So we're still waiting on guidance.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, that's always the key, is what is this thing going to look like when we get back? Because Tammy said, oh, maybe just 10 people in one room, or I don't know, like, 10 students, what's going to happen to the other ones? Like, there's a bunch of, and on that note, I'm going to kick it to Courtney.
Yeah, I think that it's impossible logistically to have all the students, satisfied in a way. And it almost, I've seen so many districts doing these like, half and half models where they're half in the class, half at home doing digital. And it almost seems better, in my opinion, to keep it digital and maybe just come for like a social class or something. But it just trying to get all the buses, and you have to take everybody's temperature. Everybody has to stay 6 feet apart. So 15 kids in a line, all 6 feet apart. I mean, it's impossible whenever you have, little Susie in the back cutting up. Well, then you got to run to the back of the line, not just yell to the back of the line, whenever you're in these situations. And so it almost seems like, are we pushing too hard to get back to where we were at a detriment to our kids? Are we going to be wasting too much time with these mandates? But then it brings up so many other questions about the parents working and stuff. So I don't know what the answer is. I'm so
That's a good question, though, Courtney. That's a very good question. Samantha, what do you think? Are we pushing it too quickly, too fast, too hard?
What Courtney said is what's been on my mind as a parent and an educator this whole time. Having a 6-year-old and an 11-year-old, what will happen if we go a half day? Where will my children go? If they leave school, what if my 11-year-old, who is on that verge of being responsible enough to maybe stay home for a little bit on her own, but watching a younger child, I'm not sure about that. But what if she goes in the morning and my younger daughter goes in the afternoon? How will I transport them?
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of logistical issues that need to be considered.
I got a question for you ladies, and this is something that I didn't even think about, but until now, is homeschooling on the rise? Or, because like coming from me, I mean, you wouldn't know it, but I was homeschooled till high school.
I think so. I think that we're going to see a lot of like homeschool co-ops happening. I know in Texas it's really easy to do that. And it was already on the rise beforehand, just for parents who wanted more control and were in a position to do it. But I think it really will come to that. I think it's going to be more spread out. I think that parents are going to be, from a parent's perspective, like you were saying, Samantha, it would be easier for me to have my child go fully virtual through, if it's not virtual through the public district, maybe through like K-12 or Connections. Whereas if I just was still wanting them to continue at the school they were going to and having to split their days up, and how do I get them from here to here? And what about sport practices? And what if they go to school and I live in a different district than where I teach? And it's just a big mess. So I guarantee you, Peter, that homeschooling will be on the rise, at least for the next few years, especially for the helicopter parents and the parents who want to keep all their kids safe. Not that ones that are sending them don't want their kids to be safe, but I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of hyper anxious parents right now, completely understandable, who are going to want to try to protect their kids from everything as possible.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, guys, ladies, I wanted to ask you that question, actually, because I think I'm a pretty well-rounded guy. What do you all think about homeschooling? I've always wanted to ask this question from teachers. I want to know. I'm curious. Because one thing that was good for me is that I was hyper-focused, on my classes, and that's why I graduated from SC, But at the same time, it wasn't until, like a few years ago, once I got to college, that I really became, how do you say it, familiar with the social aspect of what schooling brings to you, is the social aspect. That's what the homeschooling had for me. That was a detriment for me. I was awkward going to, I didn't know how to communicate. So what do you ladies think?
Yeah, I think if it's done correctly, and it's a pretty ambiguous term to say there, because what is correct? I think that there needs to be stronger guidelines. In Texas, as a parent, all you have to do is say that you're doing homeschooling, and that pretty much suffices. So there's a lot of parents that use that loophole to not teach their kids. And so there are issues on that.
See, that's not good.
No, it's not. But I think if done correctly, my sister-in-law homeschools, and her oldest son is now in high school, and he's thriving. He's out of actual public school. He's doing awesome. He also has 6 siblings, so I mean the social aspect was there. So it's a little different. But I think if the parent is, educated in how to educate and how to teach, I think that it can be done correctly. And I think that, I think it's okay in the right circumstances, but correct is pretty subjective to the family, right?
Yeah, it's not so black and white. There's a lot of areas of gray. What do you think, Samantha?
I completely agree with Courtney. I think that there needs to be curriculum set in place, and if done correctly, it can be a wonderful thing, especially if you're getting your students out to socialize. I know in my area, there's tons of art programs and music programs for students that are homeschooled. That way they can go out and socialize with other homeschooled students and still meet those kind of fine arts requirements. So I completely agree. As long as it's done correctly, it can be a wonderful thing. And I've learned it's hard. I mean, trying to homeschool my own children, it's tough.
It is tough. Yeah, no, I know. Trust me. I know from experience. I was brought up with homeschooling, so I know exactly what that's all about. Anyway, Samantha, thank you for coming on. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome, Samantha. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Tammy Bartlett. Homeschooling is a great option for some students with those health issues benefit as well as those who don't function well within the school environment but excel virtually. You know what? It's interesting because once I got to college, that's when I really started expanding my wings and started really becoming a person, because high school, I was just I didn't know how to, I didn't really know what I was doing. I was not a person yet,
Yeah.
And that was a little daunting, actually. I still remember my first day in, and I just was I was wide-eyed, and I didn't know what I was doing, So it can be detrimental, but also it can be very, very good because I came in and I graduated in 3 years, high school, gone, And that's because I was just I know this stuff. I already knew geometry. Boom, gone,
Yeah, totally. And I think maybe what's going to happen is maybe we're going to see more of a blended model between homeschooling and, actually going in person. And so
it might be
kind of like the AI thing. It may be beneficial for students like Tammy was saying. Some people, for me, myself, I'd rather be locked in a room whenever I'm learning by myself to just get through the content. I learn better that way. But then there's people who have to have their friends beside them saying come on, don't be an idiot, So,
all I got to say is after Samantha and Tammy, all I got to say is, hey, parents, smile at your kids and give them a hug, please. Jesus. What? Come on. Why bring them into this world then? Anyway, that's another topic for another day.
Yeah.
Who do we got next? Ashley, I think.
Yep.
Hey,
Ashley,
how are you?
Ashley.
Hi,
Ashley.
Courtney.
Hey, Ashley.
How are you?
Hi, Ashley. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are
Where
you?
are you calling from, Ashley?
I am in Kansas. I'm in Wichita, Kansas.
Oh, Kansas.
Right now. Yeah.
I've never been, but I like it.
Home of Dorothy.
Huh?
Home of Dorothy.
Home of Dorothy. Yeah, you're not in Kansas anymore. Which is funny because there was a reference to that in The Matrix, which we were talking about briefly because of the AI thing. But before we get on that, how is everything over there in Kansas? Are you guys able to open up yet, or what's going on?
The schools have opened up. Teachers have been able to go in and get things. They recently opened Latchkey. And so we have Latchkey in 5 of our school buildings in the district with safety precautions. But it was a huge decrease compared to what the district used to provide. And so that's just the changes. But I know here in Kansas, they just announced that they will reopen April 13th. And they've actually, not April, August 13th. Oh. August. Deep breaths. Take another drink, Peter.
I will do that. I was like, holy shit, what does that mean for California?
Oh, let me requote that. So that was April 13th. They're planning to reopen schools. I've been really impressed because just through media, they've been there's like 700 volunteers, parents, teachers, administration, district. They're all trying to come together and try to really figure out what's best for the students and what's best for each, small, big districts here in Kansas.
Gotcha. So real quick before, just first question actually. Back when I was in high school in the 50s, we used to have to hide under the desks because, we never knew when the Soviets were going to attack, so we had to hide under the desk just in case it was a nuclear attack, So now, flash forward, 70 years later, 60 years later, we have, do you think we're going to be having to wear masks all the time because of what's going on with the whole virus, the plague? Is this new atomic weapon that's going to hit?
We obviously made it through that, so we'll make it through this. But I was kind of listening to what Courtney was saying. I think this is the new. I laughed at him the whole time I was watching. He's hilarious. So, but I think you, Peter, random and hilarious. He's gonna do something. Oh my gosh.
Oh, okay.
And so I think it's the new norm. I think it's gonna be like this for a while. I think it's just something we have to just push through and do the best that we can do. And just focus on solutions, I would say. But I mean, I saw a lot of crazy things of, possibility, putting plastic screens in front of each desk. I don't know if you've seen that. I don't know.
Oh,
so
you see, that can take away from the social aspect of being in school. You know what I mean? It's everyone's social distancing from each other. I mean, I'm feeling it too. I mean, I haven't gone out or done anything in months. You know what I mean? So I'm itching to get out. So you've had to do a lot of classes digitally, right, Ashley?
Yes.
Like a lot of Zoom stuff.
Yes.
Now, do you foresee a point in our upcoming history where we're going to be heavily reliant on AI? Do you think that AI could possibly take over the teacher's role?
It's possible. I've heard things too, and I just through conversation that there are some schools that teachers aren't really facilitating. A lot of kids are on the computer and they're not teaching. They're just kind of walking around and just monitoring those things. So I know. But I could see that it could, everything is forever changing.
So because one thing that Courtney said was, and something that Tammy said and Samantha reiterated was, some of these kids, they haven't seen a smile or gotten a hug all day. So that's the only smile and hug they will receive. So if we have AI, if we have a C3PO come in and start teaching the class, that's not going to work.
No, right? I don't. I teach kindergarten in the school that I'm at. We have PBS classrooms. It's positive behavioral rooms. And so a lot of my kids, or the kids in the school, they have experienced trauma. That social interaction is a huge, huge, huge thing. And that was the biggest thing that I struggled with as a teacher, is not being able to connect to those students. Some of those, I mean, it's a love language, some of those kids rely on that. And so I don't think it would be the best thing for our students, but it could happen. Yeah.
I'm hoping that we're a ways off, because the way we talked about it earlier today, I mean, a human brain the computer for a human brain would occupy 8 city blocks and would need a huge amount of power, and it would overheat very quickly. So we're ways off of AI, but I just like to throw it out there because I'm looking at things and I'm just, wow, it can really escalate to a certain point very quickly, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's good because, it prepares our brain to kind of, it could go this way and adjust to anything that could happen. Yeah.
Exactly.
So.
Wow. I'm going to kick it over to Courtney. Courtney, you got any?
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to say Ashley's awesome. She went above and beyond for her kiddos. I saw it all over Twitter, getting them just end of the year gifts and bringing as much of that social and love to them that she could. And so she was one of the trailblazers on that. That I just saw that you always focus on solutions, and I think what you said there about not getting wrapped up in today or yesterday, but really just looking on what's the most sensical way to move forward. How do we integrate? The world's obviously moving to more of an AI position, right, in every field, and so how do we integrate these things to where they're beneficial to everyone and to where there's and where we can adapt over time, right? And so I think you're exactly right. We have to stay positive and just look for the solutions and what makes the most sense for our kids, not necessarily for us as the adults in the room, but how do we get them what they need? And I think the biggest question is, what do they need? How much time do they need in math? How much time do they need in reading? Maybe it's a time, maybe right now we just relook at all of those things and hopefully we can come to a position where we realize that a kid is more than just a reading and a math score, right? Because I think that's what it's boiled down to in a lot of districts. So I just want to thank you publicly because
No, thank you for all that you do. And, I was reading the article and I know Clear the List has been a huge thing and has impacted our city and it's opened so many doors to help. But I think it's a big thing now because when I was reading those articles, sometimes I skim through the things that are repetitive and that you always hear and pick out the things that we need to focus on. And one thing I saw in the end of that was budgets. And I think it was about a $683 million change. And so I think it's the biggest thing now. I know the world is going through all these crazy things, and I know people are stepping up to help other ways, but I really hope that they don't forget teachers because this is a big change. We're going through so many things. And so thank you for this and thank you for allowing me to be here and all
You're
of that
welcome.
jazzy stuff.
Anytime. Come on anytime, Ashley.
Crazy.
I like when people laugh at my jokes because I don't think I'm funny. I'm just like, oh, well, whatever.
Right. Heal for this conversation too. Geez.
Funny.
Okay. Anyway, thank you so much, Ashley. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye. So, Courtney, I think that this is the end today. I'm going to read a couple of posts here. Brittany Gonzalez. There are apps called Co-Writer and Snap and Read that would have been widely helpful to the support of a teacher would bring to some instruction. What are those?
I'm not familiar with either one of those, but I would assume that they probably analyze either the teacher or the student, and they're able to probably provide instruction or in my old district, we had this test that the students took every 6 weeks, and it would adjust for, it would see where they were at. So I taught math, so it could place them on a certain grade point level. And based on how they did on that test, it would give me a report that would say, here's the most common sense thing to teach them next to either fill a gap or build upon their prior knowledge. So I would assume it's technology or software that helps the teacher, pinpoint where the student needs to go next.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. Courtney, this was amazing. Thank you for spending the social happy hour with me. I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah.
You're a great piggyback. No,
awesome. Thank you for having me. I love doing this. I know the teachers love it too. I always get DMs and messages.
Hey, we're gonna have to do another one soon. I'm always excited to talk to teachers. Like this is something that I'm like very, very interested and invested in. So I want to know more. Like what's going on with them, you know, like because we're coming up on a new generation. If they don't have proper teaching,
I know exactly. And how do we navigate it? That's what I love about Clear the List is it breaks through so many barriers that are kind of going on in the world right now. And so we're able to put politics aside and race and religion and all of these things and come together as just humans and celebrate our kids. And I love that.
Yeah, exactly. Courtney, it was a pleasure. I hope to see you soon. Actually, I probably will see you soon.
Yeah.
I'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Woo, okay, everybody. That's all for today. I hope everybody enjoyed this. This was very eye-opening for me, and it was a great segue off of what I just did earlier today, which was actually serendipitous because I was watching the making of The Matrix when I walked in. Actually, my brother was. That being said, Johnny, are we good on guests? I can't hear you, Johnny. Oh, no.
It was just my mic. How could you hear me?
You turned your mic off?
Yeah, that's all. I turned my mic off. I was listening. You know what? This is a very important topic because, I mean, not to be cheesy, our children are our future, you know? I mean,
yes.
If we educate them and teach them correctly and build a rapport and you know, just all of it. It's a very interesting conversation. I think that's why, you know, we got such great feedback last time. This was great as well. And yeah, I think we're going to be doing more of this.
Oh yeah. I want to explore this more often.
Yeah,
definitely. Yep. Johnny, it was a great episode. I hope to see you soon, brother. And yeah, well, actually, I'll probably see you tomorrow. Huh?
Take us home. We ran out of time for somebody today, but maybe we could bring her on tomorrow if you wanted to mention.
Yeah, tell her to come on tomorrow. I don't mind.
Yeah,
I have a couple other guests tomorrow too. So yeah.
Okay, so sorry, Lisa Vanderpump. We ran out of time today, but maybe we'll get you on tomorrow. Peter.
Yeah, no. Lisa wasn't Lisa supposed to come on? Is that the other guest?
Yeah, but she's not on today. So yeah, we ran out of time. Actually, we went over. We're over an hour. So
yeah, anyway. That's true. We did. We went over. Wow, we went really over. Yeah, sorry, I can't have her on. Let's go. I gotta go.
Take us home,
guys.
buddy.
Let's
take us
tomorrow.
Good day, folks. Broadcast Cal here with a message for our teachers. If there's one thing we've learned so far during this phase, it's that our teachers are heroes. Thank you for figuring out distance learning.
Hello.
Thank you for setting up Zoom meetings.
Have a great day. Be safe, okay?
Thank you for the parades through our neighborhoods. Thank you for the calls, text, and emails that brighten our days. Thank you for loving your students, even from a distance. We miss you, teachers, and we are grateful for you. We love you.